Alright, so the final type of stock dividend that we're covering is the stock dividend. So this is a type of common stock dividend called the stock dividend. The main thing you have to focus on are what's called small stock dividends and large stock dividends. Okay? If the stock dividend is less than 25%, it's small. If it's over 25%, it's large. Okay? 25% of what? 25% of outstanding shares. So, for example, if a company has 100,000 shares outstanding, a 20% stock dividend means they're going to issue on a pro rata basis. Pro rata means everyone gets a proportional number of shares. So, if I own 1% of the shares before, I'll own 1% of the shares after. So this is the dividend is so dividends. What's happening here? I'm not writing a little delay. Sorry about that. So this is the dividend percent here, and that's the way stock dividends normally are declared, as a percentage. All right. In this first example, there are 10 million shares outstanding. They have a 10% stock dividend. It's a small stock dividend. When it's a small stock dividend, we're going to use the market value to reduce retained earnings. All right. So we have 10 million shares times a 10% stock dividend outstanding. So 10 million outstanding shares times a 10% stock dividend. That's a million. And we have to multiply it by the market price of $9. That's where the 9 million comes from. So you put $9 million reduction retained earnings. So it looks like a dividend so far from the perspective of the other three dividends that we've looked at: cash, liquidating, and property dividend, all reduce retained earnings. Here's where it gets a little different. First thing is this is whoa, hello. This is the declaration date over here. On this declaration date, we do reduce retained earnings, but we don't have a payable. We have a distributable. And that's an important distinction, because the shares that we're transferring on a pro rata basis don't represent an asset per se. All right, so there's no asset. It's we had dividends payable before because we had to settle that claim in an asset. All we're doing here is saying we had a pizza with 4 pieces, now we're going to make it 8. So if you owned 4 before, or you owned 2 before, now you own 4. That's all we're doing. So we call it a distributable. This is a stockholder's equity account. Okay? FYI, a common stock dividend distributable is a stockholder's equity account. Say adios to that. Okay. Oh, buddy. All right. So, why do we have 500,000 over here? Let me get my pen back. It's the par value of 50 cents times the 1 million shares. 10% times 10 million. All right, and paid in capital in excess of par, or additional paid in capital, goes in here. All right. On the distribution date, so it's no longer officially a payment date. This is a distribution date. On the distribution date, we remove the distributable and then issue the par value in stock. So what happens in this? We reduce. Yikes! Where's my? Here we go. We reduce retained earnings. That's true. The distributable cancels out, but we have a stock issuance. So in effect, total stockholders' equity doesn't change, and all we're doing is what's called capitalizing retained earnings. We're lowering retained earnings and we're increasing contributed capital. All right, now let's look at the large stock dividend. Large is at par, so what I like to do is say, oh shoot, a large stock dividend is at par. So R and R. Okay, if you can remember the AR and AR, large is at par. This means we're going to reduce retained earnings only by the par value. So once again, 10 million outstanding, but now the dividend declaration is 110%, so we got to multiply it times 1.10 times 50 cents per share. All right. So the amount is 10 million times 1.1 million is 11 million shares are going to be distributed in this account. Multiplied times 50 cents, that's 5.5 million reduction in retained earnings. We don't have to deal with additional paid-in capital. It goes directly to common stock dividend distributable, which will cancel on the payment date. And just so you see the total effect, it's still a transfer of retained earnings to contributed capital account, the par value account, but it doesn't impact the additional paid-in capital. Okay, so that's it for common stock dividend. That's it for the stock dividend. Just remember, small and large, small at market, large at par, large par. And all we're doing is shuffling from retained earnings to contributed capital accounts, but total stockholders' equity is unchanged. Total assets are unchanged, and total liabilities are unchanged. All right. That's it for common stock for the stock dividend.